What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are doing a fun one. This is the Tryhackme box bounty hacker. If you haven't done this one before, I'll pull it over here for you. If you haven't done this one before, it is pretty fun. It's really easy, but it is a fun one. Especially, this is one I actually would recommend to people getting into CTFs and also getting into this type of competitions, if you will. I think this is actually one of the easiest ones I've done, but it is one of the best ones for learning the process to go through, and that's because it is simplistic and it is methodical. So we're going to go ahead and cover it, and we're going to talk about it. So if you guys haven't, hit that like button, hit that sub button. It helps out a ton, and we are continuing the content. As you guys know, I have the end of week news. I have the CTFs that I upload, the weekly CTF, which this is our weekly CTF for the Discord, so join the Discord as well. Let's hop into it. So first thing, it says deploy the machine. We did that. Now it says find open ports on the machine. So we're going to run nmap. Now, you don't have to get fancy with this one. We can just run nmap and just run the regular IP. We don't have to get crazy. 112. Now, I'm going to do this for the sake of time, but you don't have to do this, okay? So I'm going to just do ports 1 through 100. And the reason I'm doing this is because I know what ports are open on this. It's going to save time, but you don't have to do this. Because if you did this on a regular machine, you'd only obviously get ports 1 through 100, but I knew these ones are the ones that are open, the 20 or 21, 22, and 80. So just FYI, you don't have to do this. Don't do that on any other machine unless you know the ports are open, okay? So let's go ahead and hop into it. Here we go. We've got on port 80, we've got a website here, and I'm not an anime person, so maybe some of you guys that because I actually really like boxes that have themes, and this one has a theme, I just don't know it. So maybe you guys are familiar with this anime, and if you are, hit that comments and tell me like what anime it is, what the references are. I want to be involved in the theme, I just don't know it. So but it looks like Spike, oh look, you're finally up, it's about time, 3 more minutes and you're going out with the garbage. Now you told Spike you can hack any computer in the system. Okay, so this is where the bounty hacker comes in. We'd let Ed do it, but we need her working on something else. And you were getting real bold in that bar back there. Now take a look around, see if you can get that root the system, and don't ask any questions you know you don't need the answer to. If you're lucky, I'll even make you some bell peppers and beef. Ed, I'm Ed. You should have access to the device that you're talking on the computer. Edward and Ian will be on the main deck if you need us. Okay, so let's just check the page source. Pretty simple. There's nothing really here. Crew picture, okay. Cool, no scripts or anything that I saw. So I don't see a whole lot here. The only thing that I might take out of this would maybe be Ed, and it looks like Faye. So we've got 2 names that we could probably use, and then Ian, I think that's the name. We could probably use those later if we need to, but let's go ahead and look at the FTP since we didn't see anything on port 80. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you guys. There we go. Now, let's go ahead and look at port 80. So, or I'm sorry, port 21, FTP. So we're going to say FTP, and we're just going to give the IP address 10.10.151.112. And it says name, and then it says root. You see that? So we're going to say anonymous, because anyone that's used FTP knows that if it's turned on by default and it's not fixed, the anonymous login can be done, which you can see we are allowed to log in anonymously. So this is a problem. This is a security feature needs to be disabled for security. But we hit ls, and you can see we have task and locks.txt. Now, I would just do get locks.txt and then get task.txt. Now, this is only 2 files, so pretty easy for us to do. Now, I always want to keep this session open just in case I need it for something, so I'll go back to this one. And we'll say exit. This is the one I had from earlier. So we'll keep this FTP session open because we want to keep it open just in case we need to transfer files or something. We'll say ls. You see we have locks.txt and task.txt. Well, I'm going to look at the task.txt first. So it says protect vicious and plan for red eye pickup on the moon. Okay, and then it says Lynn. Okay, so first things first I see here is I see Lynn signed. That can be a username, right? So we're going to use Lynn as a username for now. We're going to keep that. Now, keep in mind, we also found Ed and some of the other ones. So we could make a username list of Ed, Faye, Ian, and Lynn and see if we get anything out of that. But I'm not going to do that for the sake of the username we're looking for is Lynn, and they gave it to us in the task. So now we're going to look at what is this locks.txt file. Okay, so right off the bat, I don't know anything about Red Dragon Syndicate or who they are or whatever, but this looks to me to be a password file. So you can see that CTF is guiding you in the right direction. It's telling you, hey, this is probably where you want to go. So we have a name and we have a password file. So right off the bat, we're going to know we're going to probably be using Hydra. So we're going to say Hydra, and then we're going to say lowercase L for username, Lynn, and then uppercase P for the password list, which is locks.txt, right? So we've got our format. Now we're going to say SSH because we're going to try and use it to get a remote shell into the machine. 1010, what did we say? 115.112 or 151.112? Let's remember here. 151.112. Okay. All right. So when we do this, it happens pretty fast because the list is very small. But we have, looks like we have the proper password, and it's Red Dragon Syndicate, which they were all variations of it, but this is the proper one. So we copy that. We just say SSH, and we say Lynn at 10.10.151.112. It's going to ask us for the password. We copy and paste it. You can't see it because it didn't pop up, but we pasted it in there. And then look, we're at the desktop. So we have a shell. We're in the machine. Now, this may seem kind of crazy to you guys because some of this seems very straightforward and simple, right? Part of it's I'm making it look easy because I've done the box before. But one thing that people don't understand a lot when doing attacks is, or hacking, is these misconfigurations are not uncommon. Like people say like, oh, that's super easy, so that would never happen in real life, so you're not a real hacker or whatever, right? I've seen these in real life, right? Someone forgot to turn off a setting. Someone left anonymous login in. Why would that still be there? Because people don't go back after they've stood a server up, right? If you stand up a server and you're a system administrator or something, or you're whatever, and you stand that server up, if you don't have a reason to go back and check it, you're not going to just keep going back periodically to check it. Now, should they do periodic assessments? Yes. But if you get in the real world and you start to see that things get drowned out with red tape, things get preoccupied, people get too busy, there's not enough staff, these types of things, that's how this environment is created, is with underfunding, undermanning, and this happens all the time. So stay sharp on your easy ones too. Just keep that in mind. So now we're in. Now we got to figure out what do we do next, right? So we need to first cat the user.text, user.txt, boom. Let's go back and make sure we didn't miss any answers. So this is why I used Lynn instead of some of the other names, because it says find open ports on the machine. Okay, we did that. Who wrote the task list? And it's Lynn. So that tells me right there that that's the clue they needed. And then it says what servers can you brute force. So again, they're leading you into where we were, even though keep in mind what we just did was not a brute force attack. That was a dictionary attack. What's the user's password? We've got that. What's the user text? We've got that. So last thing we have to figure out, is what is the root text, right? So there's a couple of privilege escalation techniques. One of the first ones I always do, if I have the password of the user, is sudo L, right? So now we can just copy and paste that password in again. And now look at this. It says, okay, we've got our path. So the first thing I want to check is the path, because if there's a path that we can write to, we can actually manipulate that as well. But then this one right here, user Lynn may run the following commands, bin tar as root. Okay, that may not seem like much to us, right? Right at the bat, it might say, okay, we can run bin tar. How's that help us? Well, we're going to go to GTFO bins. If you guys have never gone here, GTFO bins is a way that you can look at binaries in Linux, right? Or different things. And you can see the different capabilities that they can be taken advantage of given the proper configurations. So the one we're going to look at is tar, because we just did. And you can see we want sudo. So what this is saying is you type in tar, boom, it's saying if you have sudo permission to run tar, which we do, run this. If the binary is allowed to run as super user, sudo, it does not drop the elevated privileges and may be used to access the file system, escalate or maintain privileged access. So you run sudo tar, and then you can see they're actually, it's funny, they're actually running it and compressing dev null, so they're not actually doing anything. And then they're running a checkpoint action and executing bin shell. So really what they're saying is compress everything, but the file I'm pointing you to is nothing. So compress nothing. Then when you check, run an execution, right? During one of your checkpoints, run an execution. So it's actually a pretty clever way of breaking out. So we go ahead and copy that. And now we go back to our shell here. And we can paste it. And you can see right here, sudo tar, and then all we do is we say, hit enter. And you notice we get this, removing leading member from name. So it looks like we kind of might have an error or something. But then we have this little blinking hashtag over there. We say, who am I? Boom, we are root now. So that was pretty easy, right? So now we're root. So now we just cd. We go to root. There's our root.txt. And boom, Tryhackme bounty hacker. So this was an easy box, but this is one of the boxes that I really like for teaching because it just leads you right there, right? It keeps you on track. It doesn't have rabbit holes. It's very intelligent about how it goes about it. It shows you the methodologies. One of the biggest ones is, like I said, the simple sudo L privilege escalation. That's common. That I would say on 80% of boxes that I've done on Tryhackme, sudo L will get you there if you follow the, whether that's the path, whether it's the permissions, the what you can run, the binaries, etc. It'll get you there. And that's not always the case, obviously, but I'm just saying it's very common. So I really like this box for that. I think this is a super easy box. So you can have your beginner levels. And then it's also a box that you can deep dive into if you aren't familiar with what sudo L is, right? You might know that you can do this, but you don't really know what's going on. So you can deep dive into it if you want. You can learn some more skills. So take it with a grain of salt, how easy it is. And also what I mean by that is it's very easy if you've done many CTFs because it kind of follows that path. But deep dive into each skill set and each piece and figure out why that makes sense, right? Why did we use the user Lin, right? Well, like I said, if I wasn't given the hint, who wrote the task list of Lin, I would have probably created a user list of Lin, Ed, Ian, Faye, all of them. Any name I got, I would have probably used a list. So just think of those skill sets and think of mentally how you would have handled that if it wasn't guiding you specifically, right? So thank you guys. Hopefully you guys like the box. I think it's a good box. I think it's very simplistic and perfect for teaching. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know again in the comments. Please someone tell me about the anime references, if there is references. I don't really get it, and I love theme boxes, so let me know. And thanks guys, hope you have a great day.